One term that gets thrown around more and more in 2016 than any other year that I have known. Not even 1 week after something happens, heck, not even 10 minutes after something happens on TV, this word is everywhere. And that word is buried. After AJ Styles faced Roman Reigns 2 pay-per-views in a row in the main event for the title, that loss on the second one led to, he's buried. Because there's something that every superstar loves more than anything, to get a main event, 2 pay-per-views in a row, and be classified as buried. When you've been in the company less than 6 months, from Royal Rumble where you're a surprise entrant, leading into a match at WrestleMania, which you did lose, and then pay-per-venting 2 main events in a row, the term buried doesn't seem to apply. Now, it's true. In the business of professional wrestling, you need to get some victories. Not everything you do can be on a loss to just say you were there or you were in the main event, and I wholeheartedly get that. But when you look at superstars that are on TV now, and you look at superstars that have been in the past, and you really, really try to compare the term buried, you wonder what exactly we're talking about before. If I look at superstars in today's day and age that are buried, I would wholeheartedly agree with it, that if you look at the list of people that were recently released, those were people that WWE buried. Now, WWE oftentimes buries people, quote unquote, for either punishment, they bury them for either them just going in a different direction, or they don't see a plan. Now, one of the biggest criticisms of people that they've had in the recent years is if they don't have something for them to do on TV, but they don't put them on TV at least, they're wholeheartedly 100% buried. In this case, you look at Sasha Banks, where in the past, if Sasha Banks was just thrown on to matches every Monday or every Tuesday night on SmackDown, you'd say, well, they don't have anything for her. Wow, she's just buried. But instead of giving that TV time to somebody else, trying to help them get over, like Dana Brooke and Charlotte, trying to get over their gimmick, we assume Charlotte's buried and she did something wrong, and you look at the headlines about Vince McMahon thinks she's injury-prone. Instead of she had an injury, she's just out, and eventually going into SummerSlam, when we want to use her, we will. WWE has a lot of TV time they need to fill, but is it smart just to fill the time with people if they don't have anything for them? I look at superstars on TV now, and I mentioned the list of people that recently got released, where you had Hornswoggle, who wasn't doing anything since the general manager reveal years ago with the anonymous Raw general manager, just has not been on TV, has not been a part of the show. Even he said that he thought that release day would be coming eventually. You look at other guys such as Alex Riley, who Alex Riley at his time was hot. Alex Riley and The Miz, I thought, had a good thing going, and to this day, Capital Punishment. It's one of my favorite Miz matches of all time, easily my favorite Alex Riley match of all time, because he didn't get that many of them. Alex Riley didn't come in from the indie scene, and now he has to go venture out into those waters. But Alex Riley came in, and to what I thought was pretty over, and I enjoyed him, and then WWE fizzled out and did nothing with him. In that term, I guess you could say he was buried. He tried to go to NXT and did the whole Rage Riley thing, and I thought he was starting to pick up some steam, but of course WWE cuts their ties because they've been with the company a long time. You can go another direction. You look at a guy like Dolph Ziggler. Is he buried, or is he just what he is, an enhancement jobber talent? Now, if Dolph Ziggler is content doing what he's doing, going on out there and putting on good matches when they need him to, or going on out there and getting them to get the pop when they need to, that's Dolph Ziggler's role. You're going to need guys in the company that are going to help put people over and that are going to look like $1 million and sell it. But Dolph Ziggler occasionally does need to get his victories in, which he still does against a guy like Baron Corbin, although it may not lead to the best results for him. You look at other guys in the last couple of years that have actually been quote-unquote buried. The Nexus is one of my favorite groups growing, going, whatever you want to say. The Nexus was an absolutely phenomenal group. Now, there's only 2 factions in WWE that I own shirts for, and one of them was the Core. And I own 2 of the Core shirts. I'm not sure why, but I bought a second one. And the core was Wade Barrett, Ezekiel Jackson, Heath Slater, and they broke up in Justin Gabriel, and they went on a faction against them. Now they would have the IC title between Ezekiel Jackson and Wade Barrett, and ultimately it would fizzle out, just like the new Nexus did when CM Punk took control, and it just didn't make sense, and ultimately it felt like they were buried. Other than that, I don't really have any huge terms I could use to show you as far as what buried being look like is. Because if you look at Damian Sandow, and this is the reason that I agree that Damian Sandow was buried for varying degrees of terms. If WWE has somebody popular on their hands, and let's say they become more popular than Roman Reigns, and despite them, because of the fact they want Roman Reigns to be, not where he is today, and that person is never heard from again after, say they showed up on Monday Night Raw and Roman Reigns faced somebody, and that person was over, and the crowd was cheering for him, and the next week the crowd was cheering for him when he got his spot in, and then the next week it happened, and then eventually you never saw that person again, then one would assume they're buried. Damian Sandow had a slow, rocky road to get where he was. He didn't get there fast. His initial debut with Intellectual Savior of the Masses didn't always take off, and it was not a slow burn. Although I really liked the character, it was not a fast one within the WWE. Eventually, he would get jobbed out to people, similar to how Heath Slater did. He would come out and do his promos. He would start imitating and mocking people, and some people got really annoyed, and some people kind of saw its endgame. And eventually, it led to him teaming with The Miz, and that gimmick with The Miz was so over. It was probably one of the most things he's ever done as far as being the most over, with the crowd just absolutely loved it, and the crowd ate it up every second of the way. But to get to that point wasn't easy. To get to that point, he was buried along the way, because being buried isn't the end-all, be-all if it eventually leads to something. Use that character, use that determination to not want to go back to that place. Don't just collect that check. And it's easy for us to say whether or not people could actually walk away from it or not. But when I look at a guy that was buried, there is nobody more certain than Damian Sandow, a guy that you had that was so over that all you had to do is put him out there and he would get a pop. Now, when you hear Damian Sandow's rationalization of, you know what, I'm not over, I am over, and you have other guys in the company that aren't, why not use that TV time to try to help put over other people? Now, that's really optimistic thinking when you look at that specific person, but not everybody can be as big and admit that like Damian Sandow, because when you're in the company, this is your push to fame, this is your big opportunity, that word bury comes looming around, just like it did on TV with AJ Styles, who said, seems like somebody, if they get the victory over, they find you buried with a shovel. So the term buried is being acknowledged on TV, but facing a guy like John Cena doesn't make you buried. WWE writers and a lack of understanding of what we want today, or even if we do know what we want, eventually it might lead to something better down the line. So if you're buried today, tomorrow there's a good chance if they have something for you, you may not. So when you think about the buried discussion about, is this guy buried? Is that guy buried? Look at what some of the best buried people of all time eventually led it to. Now, Sandow's gone, unfortunately, so it's kind of a bad example. Yeah, The Miz and Alex Riley. Alex Riley is gone now, even though it was over at one point. Maybe the lesson is that when that time comes, when that iron strikes, when there is that one big moment, the question isn't necessarily about everything that you've been buried in the past. It's how you were able to unbury yourself and get yourself to that level. Get yourself to that level where you didn't need the company to make you into what it is today. You didn't need the company to make you into the character that you are today. You needed that freedom. You needed that opportunity to do what so many superstars have done in the past. The Rock, Stone Cold Steve Austin, Triple H. You just needed to be given that opportunity. And for some guys, when they finally got that opportunity, they killed it. And for some, the company killed the momentum and killed every single thing they had going for them. Because if the guys like Damian Sandow are any inspiration, you may be buried. You may find yourself in a pile of crap. But if you believe, and if the right opportunity comes after years of being buried, you might just find yourself on the top of the company. Until next time, my name is Tubby. Thank you very much for joining me. And until next time, we will see you all later. Maybe Dolph Ziggler's time is still coming.